Hi, and welcome to Finding Your Flow, the podcast. My name is Jen, and I'm your host. I'm inviting you here to intuitively lead and live your most aligned and expansive life. I'm an intuitive business and leadership advisor for heart-centered, impact-driven leaders, entrepreneurs, and businesses. And I'm also a supporter of women's empowerment and animal rescue work. Unlocking flow and supporting you through your next level of growth and transformation is my superpower. I found my own freedom and flow through entrepreneurship over a decade ago. And on this podcast, I'll be sharing stories and insights through the lens of my expertise and my personal experience, and through inspiring conversations with my special guests. I'll be helping you navigate your most important asset, your intuition, supporting you in getting unstuck and staying on your most successful and aligned path. I want you to leave with aha moments, deep insights, clarity on your next steps, and more importantly, an inner knowing that where you are right now is perfectly aligned. Life needs you where you're at your best. Hey there, it's Jen. Thank you so much for popping into the podcast today. I'm excited to talk about this topic because it is one that has been of experience for me, and I've gotten a lot of insights on it personally, and so I'm excited to share this with you because I think that as women, we often feel like we are broken in a sense because of all of the variations of this experience that we have. So what I want to talk about today is just this idea of us often feeling very kind of broken and unstable in our life because the human experience as a woman is not one that is very neutral or it does not always have the same frequency. There is a ginormous amount of variation in how we experience life. And I know for me in the past, and still today, I still get caught in this. I tend to sometimes feel like there's something wrong with me. Like how come I can't just stay at the same frequency all the time? How come my energy can't stay the same all the time? And I question and doubt myself a lot when I'm in these moments of fluctuation. So, I think we came here with a much thinner veil between the human experience and the spiritual experience. Therefore, we feel things at a much deeper level. Now, obviously, this varies from woman to woman, but like as a general rule, I've noticed that women just experience life much more deeply and are much more sensitive and feel things a lot more. And one of those reasons, I think, is because, we have our hormonal cycles, right, which fluctuate from week to week throughout the whole month. And just that is enough to make us feel unstable when we're not aware of what happens during our hormonal cycle. Then we have, the moon phases, which we are very, very sensitive to. Not all of us, but many of us are. The full moon, the new moon, and then the moon cycles in between that. And then we have the part of us that's just very empathic and sensitive that feels, especially if you're a highly intuitive person, you will feel things in life that are not just yours. So sometimes you're feeling things that are your own, and sometimes you're feeling things from people around you. That can even be through like a virtual call. Like you can really feel things in your own body from what the person across the screen is experiencing. And then we have the whole, what's happening in the collective that you can definitely feel at a deep level as well. So if we think about, our cycles, this always kind of amazes me. We have 4 cycles that we go through, 4 hormonal cycles that we go through throughout the month. The first is the menstrual cycle, right? And that for me in that week, it just feels like I'm a giant anchor sitting at the bottom of the ocean. It just feels like I feel heavy, I feel slow, I feel tired, I feel quiet, I feel introspective. So, as an entrepreneur during that week, it looks like really slowing down. It looks like creating a week of nurturing, working on my sofa with big blankets and my laptop. It looks like slower mornings, days ending earlier. And so if I wasn't aware of that during that week, I could probably feel just really broken and like, what is wrong with me? How come I should be doing more? I should be feeling more energized. I should, right? And then we have the follicular stage, which is after the menstrual cycle. And in that week, for me, I always just feel like the bear that's coming out of hibernation. It's like, oh, I just woke up. Life is good again. Everything just feels like normal and neutral and regular, and I just go about my life like a regular person. And then we have the ovulation phase, which is the moment in our cycle, or the week in our cycle, where we are vibrant, where we are the most attractive, where we're the most energetic, the most social, where we can, like, we want to connect, we want to be, like, that is the week as entrepreneurs, to be seen and heard and share your voice and, do workshops, like whatever. It's like putting yourself out there, really shining your light. That's one of my favorite weeks, because I just feel like not only is life good, but I just feel like at my absolute best. And then there's the luteal week, which is, for me, the worst week of the month, every single month. And that is a week where most women experience a high level of anxiety. I start to fall into like this, it's like preparing for the menstrual, it's actually the longest cycle, I think, in the hormonal cycle. It's the longest week. It's like, the other ones are like, 5 to 7 days. This one is like 10 days. And that's the week for me where I feel, not only do I start to fall into like a deep fatigue, like the deep fatigue that I fall into when I'm in my menstrual cycle, it feels good. It just feels like, ooh, I get to like hide in my Cancer shell and like get really slow and intentional about everything. But the luteal week is like starting to feel really tired, anxieties coming in, insecurity. That week I doubt every single thing that I'm doing. I think that I'm like a complete, what is the word I'm looking for? It's like, I just have like this imposter syndrome. I'm rethinking every single thing that I'm doing in my work. It's just like this huge 10 days of like doubt and anxiety and like messiness, complete messiness. So just that in and of itself for a woman is a lot to navigate, because and we go through this cycle every single month. So every single month, we're going to go through all of these feelings and sensations, both positive and more challenging. And then we have the moon cycles, which, like I was talking about, some people experience the full moon and the new moon very differently. Some people experience them the same. Some people feel really energized and excited and like expansive, and other people feel really, like, I know for me on the full moon, or on the new moon, I actually think I tend to be really, I fall into this deep, space of heaviness and anxiety and deep reflection, but it's heavy. It's like a 2-3 days of like, I feel like I go into a cave. I go through like this massive breakdown that then turns into a like beautiful breakthrough after it's done. And then I come out like vibrant and shining. But there's always a couple of days where it's really hard. I go into these deep dreams where I almost feel like I'm drowning in my dreams. And then I come out of it, and then it's like a total rebirth. So that layered with what I was saying about how we just, we're very empathic. We not only experience and feel life at a very deep level, through a very thin veil ourselves, but we feel it through what other people are experiencing in the collective. So when I think about all of that, one, I remind myself that I need to be really gentle with myself and allow myself to navigate life without gripping so much, and I'm sharing this because I really want you to embody this as well. If when you're going through all of these, variations of the human experience as a woman, and you're gripping while it's happening, it's going to make everything so much more challenging. If you release your grip and you relax into it, then you can experience the beauty of every single cycle that you're going through, whether it's the hormonal, the moon cycle, one of feeling something from someone who's going through something that's close to you, but it's just like relaxing into it. And the vision that I get when I think about this is, when you go into the ocean, an ocean that has, waves, and you're walking into the ocean and the waves just keep, flowing up onto shore. And every time a wave comes, you need to anchor you need to lock your knees and hold yourself, because the wave just keeps pushing you back and forth, side to side. And it's really hard to keep your stance. It's really hard. We lose our footing really easily, right? And so you can stay standing on your feet, and you keep going deeper into the ocean, and the waves keep coming, and it's just this constant, your whole body is really tense because you're trying to not get knocked over by the wave. So that for me is when we're gripping, we're gripping onto life, we're gripping onto this idea of how things should be, we're gripping onto the week that we did feel good, and we want that to be what we're experiencing now instead of this emotional icky mess. And then what you can do in the ocean is you can just lie on your back and float. And I don't know if you've ever done this before. I'm sure you have, at least as a child. When you just lie on your back and float, you actually flow with the waves. Unless they're massive giant waves, they'll kind of take over you. But if you're in an ocean where it's just kind of gentle, normal waves, though you're not going to get sunk under by the waves if you're floating on your back. You're actually going to follow the wave, and you're going to flow with it. And then it just becomes this easy, intuitive, organic experience where instead of being pushed around and knocked over and trying to not lose your footing, you're just letting yourself flow with whatever is coming towards you, whatever kind of wave is coming towards you. And that can make the experience just so much more easy. It allows you to embrace whatever is coming at you in a much more peaceful way. And then once the wave is passed, it's passed, and then you move on to something else, right? So if you're in the ocean lying on your back, the wave comes to you, there's a moment where you're oh, what's going to happen? And then the wave passes, and then you're just back into this really calm, quiet ocean. And then the next one comes, you flow with it. It moves you a little bit further into shore or out into the ocean. And then it passes, and then it's just this nice, calm space again. So that, for me, is my experience, or what I had to learn as a woman in order to experience life in a much more graceful way. Just giving myself grace so that I'm not so rigid in my expectations and how life should look like and should feel like in each moment, and giving life grace, not being so angry at life or at my body, because we experience life really deeply through our bodies as women. So not being so angry with my body, not being so angry with my hormones, not being so scared or resistant with the moon cycles, and just being able to embrace and be much more peaceful in all of that. And then also seeing that actually all of those different variations of the human experience that we get is also what makes life a lot more rich and exciting, and allows us to experience life in a much deeper way. So I'm going to leave you with that. I hope that this is going to allow you to really experience your own version of life and variations and fluctuations in a much more graceful way. And, I always love to hear your thoughts on this. So feel free to DM me on Instagram. If you like, you can find me at jennifer.jane.young. I always love hearing people's own personal insights and reflections after the podcast. And just, enjoy being a woman, enjoy all of the full spectrum of the experience that comes with that, and use that as a powerful source to live your most expansive life and create the most impact that you can in the world. So I'll talk to you on the next episode. Thank you so much for spending time with me here today. I want to leave you with this little bit of wisdom. The actions you're not willing to take or the decisions you're not willing to make are the ones that will change your life. Trust your intuition, take the leaps, follow what you know to be true, even if it's not always easy or convenient. Your words mean the world to me, so if you have a moment, please share them by leaving a review of the podcast or sending me a testimonial. And I would love if you would share this episode wherever you feel called to. If you want to connect with me, you can find me over at jenniferjaneyoung.com or on Instagram at jennifer.jane.young.